What's up, people? Rasathiat here in Singapore, and thank you so much for joining me on the Night Out podcast. As always, in the evenings, I try to wrap up my day and check in with you guys and let you know what I've discovered, what I have reminisced about, things that I have learned brand new for somebody or something. Just my thoughts, my perspectives, whether they change or they've remained the same, or something that I've known for a long time but forgotten that, was really helpful, I want to get on here and share with you. So bear with me as I go on and rant and rave a little bit about these concepts that I think are important to my idea, my philosophy on how to get along with people. Because honestly, that's all emotional intelligence is. How do you get along with people? How do you maintain your sense of self in the midst of everybody else who's maintaining their sense of self so that you all can get along well and you don't encroach on each other's space? You allow each other to be to a certain degree. And then, of course, you correct and adjust as you see fit. But that's the hard part. That's where the boundaries come in. That's where people get, a little bit miffed at, you setting a boundary or you reinforcing a boundary because they feel very, very put upon or offended because for some reason when you give feedback, people tend to take it as, oh, you don't approve of me as a whole, whereas it could be one aspect of you. So it's not criticism of the whole, but it's feedback on aspects so that you can improve, so you can be better, you can be more friendly, more amicable, more personable, more marketable, whatever the case may be. So this is, whether it's work, whether it's personal, whether it's love, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that this one quote that I ran across today really turned my head and had me thinking for a minute. So I really love it when a piece of content can actually stop me in my tracks the way that this one did. So this is a tweet from Tony, which is so lyrical, and he said, "I told my therapist that I sometimes let things slide, and even though it bothers me, in order to keep the peace." And he told me, "Yo, that sounds nice, but you're keeping the peace around you. What about the peace in you?" And that's something I really wanted to discuss because that is very, very deep. I don't know if you understand how much of the quality of your life depends upon how much peace you have in your mind. So as much as we would like not to disappoint people, not to rock the boat around us, not to upset anyone, confront anyone, work in such a way that disrupts somebody else's peace of mind or disrupts somebody else's workflow, it's going to happen. It's bound to happen. As many people as there are on the planet right now, we all run in concentric circles around each other. Our bubbles run into each other sometimes. We collide. We encroach on each other. That's just the way it is. You can't walk onto a crowded bus and not touch somebody by accident. You know what I mean? So it's like that. It's not necessarily something you're doing intentionally, but it's just the way of the world. It's the way of the universe. So when he said something about, trying to keep the peace, I'm allowing things to happen because I'm trying to keep the peace, it really hit me because as an Asian, as a female, I don't know about you, but whether you're Malay, Indian, or Chinese here in Singapore, there is an aspect where you are expected to be pleasing. You're expected to be obedient. You're expected to be respectful to the degree that you will listen to me and not question me, because that is respect. And that's something we'll approach in another episode. But to be pleasing is very, very expected of you. It's the way that we are raised. So even in class, you're not encouraged to question the teacher or the way the marks are given. This is the way it is. Take it or leave it, and you work within the rules. So it is very limiting and restrictive to live in that manner, because we are also trying to find our way. We're also trying to find what works best for us, what feels best to us, so that we can be our best at any given moment. But if you're always on the defensive and always trying to avoid conflict, what do you actually accomplish? Now, when you're trying to keep the peace, that means that if somebody says something that is upsetting to you, you are pretending it didn't happen and moving along. But that doesn't mean that your feeling towards that person doesn't change. It does. You do hold that still. You do remember that, hey, one time this racist comment came out of this person's mouth, and I hold this person dearly, and I couldn't believe it came out of his mouth. But I'm not in a position to say anything to them, because the last thing I want is for them to be upset with me, for them to think I was judging them, for them to think that, I'm better than they are, whatever the case may be, so that they treat me differently. So to uphold the status quo is actually quite destructive. Because as much as we want to keep the peace around us, and I've done this successfully for many, many years, there was so much chaos inside of me because I know better and I didn't do better. Now let's push this out of, me versus the world situation, and let's do he versus her, maybe, two third party entities that are going at each other. Maybe they're having a fight. Maybe there's some kind of, knockdown, drag out in public where you can see. So if you are privy to a situation like that, wouldn't you step in to make sure both parties are okay? Wouldn't you stop someone from beating the hell out of somebody else? Wouldn't you, I mean, unless you're one of those bottleneckers, I don't know, but wouldn't you step in if you see somebody bullying somebody else on the playground? Or would you avoid it completely because I don't want none of that noise and I don't want to be dragged into something that has nothing to do with me? What do? You know what I'm saying? If it was somebody else. Now, I understand if it's me, I don't want to live in a situation where I constantly have to see the person that I corrected one time and have them come at me every time because they feel so slighted or they feel disrespected somehow. So I've done it. I've been there. I'm telling you. I've been in situations where I've purposely not said something where I really should have. But then that stuff festered inside of me for years until the point where I couldn't even look at that person no more because I was so disgusted with their behavior. And because I'd waited so long, they don't even remember what they did. It's holding a grudge. That's literally what it is. I saw somebody say something, or they said something to me that was disrespectful. Maybe, okay, this is a very cliche example, but all the aunties in the house, they gather around at, weddings or funerals or birthdays or whatever the case may be. And when they haven't seen you in a while, the first thing out their mouth is all of the Captain Obvious comments, right? Oh my gosh, you lost weight. Oh my gosh, what happened to your face? Oh my God, you gained weight. When are you going to have a baby? When are you going to get married? Like all those stupid things, right? And you feel like, okay, well, do I not exist outside of the cultural norms? Like there's no other conversation you can have? What did you study? Where are you working now? Are you making money? Like, where are you now? When are you gonna, do things on your own? When are you gonna stop being a burden to your parents? Like dumb shit like that. I don't understand why they do this. But when those people constantly say those things out of respect and deference to their age and their status in the family, we are told not to rock the boat, not to say anything, don't start no trouble. But when we allow them to continually behave that way, we tend to harbor, we get some kind of something feeling inside of us, right? We don't want to be around those people. And then it becomes a situation where you avoid them at all family events. And of course they're going to ask, well, what's wrong with her? How come she don't talk to me no more? And they're going to ask your parents or somebody else that knows you. And it becomes a situation where you're going to have to confront them and explain your position or pretend like it's nothing and it's something else instead. But even still, you still have that choice before you whether you address the issue or pretend that it doesn't exist. Meanwhile, the chaos ensues inside of you. You still feel some kind of way about these people. Like on site, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm tired. I can't be around here. Oh my God, jet lag. I going to go sleep, even though you were looking forward to going out and hanging out and stuff. So it's those kind of situations where we're expected to be pleasing, to avoid any chaos, to avoid disrupting the peace, where we stand to lose a lot of our own self-respect because we know better. We should have done better. We should have said something when we had the chance. Now, no one really teaches how to say anything with grace, how we can phrase something in such a graceful, a tactful manner where it's not offending to the other person, like obviously offending, but it's enough where they feel compassion enough to adjust their behavior. As in, hey, I feel a little bit uncomfortable when you do this, please don't. And sometimes they don't hear you even then, and you're going to have to, make a choice at that point, whether you continue correcting them or you just walk the hell away. But it's true. When you protect the peace around you, you tend to create chaos inside of you because your inner being knows that you need a specific something in order to be happy. Like, this is why I teach the 5 love languages and the 6 human needs. It's not my own work, it's somebody else's work, but I see how essential it is to how we relate to each other. And for me, it took me a long while to realize just how much I needed physical touch. I grew up in a situation where I didn't get hugged a lot, and I wasn't told that I was loved very often. And it's not that they didn't love me, it's just my mom grew up in a house where their parents didn't say that either, and they weren't hugged all that often either. It's very, pass it down kind of situation. But me, I'm a little bit more emotional and I'm a little bit more touchy-feely. So my daughter damn sure knows that she is loved. And sometimes she pushes me away because physical touch is not her first love language, right? She's one of those quality time people. She's one of those affirmation people. And she definitely loves gifts, but physical touch is in there. It's just not as important to her as it is to me. For me, I need to know that you love me. I need to know that you still feel safe and comfortable enough to lay on me, to hug me, to hold my hand, to lean on me, like any of those little things. And it's not even about having to have it constantly, but it's a way for me to know that, I am loved and I am cherished and I am appreciated. But in those instances where you do have bad energy from somebody and they happen to be touchy-feely, that's important for you to be like, yeah, but not with you. I'm not comfortable with you, in such a way that they don't feel like, oh God, you have a problem with me. It's like, okay, I'm not comfortable being that close to you, and it's hard for me to explain why, but please trust me when I say I'd rather not. So all of those awkward situations, those family members that you'd rather not kiss when you see them, or some people that you'd rather not tell them you love them at the end of every conversation or whatever. It's just your own preference is based on your own experiences, but when you try to protect their feelings, you're disrespecting your own. You're disassociating from your own. You're pretending like your feelings don't matter. And you know damn well they do. Because even after that interaction, it still lingers, doesn't it? It still pops up in your memories, doesn't it? It's still something you want to talk about, or you're wondering about whether you did the right thing or said the right thing, or if there's another way you could have handled it. Because the ideal life would be a situation where you walk through and you talk to people, you interact with people, and you don't have to explain yourself. You can just be yourself and everything is still okay. The problems happen where you are trying to be yourself and then people take offense, and then their behavior changes, and then your behavior changes, and suddenly you don't know where you stand, what's expected, what's appropriate, and you're trying to find your way again. I hate that vague place where you don't know if, or you're allowed to do something, or if, you can walk away without somebody being slighted by those small behaviors, because you're also trying to protect your own mental health. You're also trying to, recover if you've been in like a crowd, or if you've spent a long time alone and suddenly you have, a very intense conversation with somebody. You maybe need space and time to kind of recuperate and balance back out. So all of these things to explain the fact that sometimes when you are pleasing and sometimes when you are looking to keep the peace around you, you need to also realize that when you say yes to them, most of the time you're saying no to yourself. And that's a major, major issue that has big repercussions with your own mental health. Because I don't know about you, but I know when I say no to myself, and then after the fact I'm going over that scenario, I'm saying, damn, I'm so weak. Damn, I'm so stupid. I should have done this. I should have done that. It would have been just so simple if I just said this. And it drives me nuts and it breaks me down because I'm breaking myself down and there's no one to correct me. Because who can hear my thoughts but me, right? So something to consider. I wonder what your thoughts are on that quote. It really did hit me. It really stopped me in my tracks and made me think about, where all I've been very, very pleasing. And for the most part, I've been very pleasing in my life. But I've learned that the less lies I tell, the less pretense I have to go through, the less masks I have to put on to please people, the easier my life gets. And then they already know that they have only so much room to act up before I say something. So, would love to know your thoughts. Message me, let me know what you think. And in the meantime, you guys, try your best to keep the peace within you. Let that be the priority. Because I'm telling you, life is so different when you keep the peace inside of you. All right, you guys, I love you, and I'll catch you again soon. Bye.